Aloha! Welcome back, everyone. It's a happy Sunday. So, Uncle Martin has another true story for you, and this is what the thumbnail is going to be. I remember in the past episode, numbers, it was under the episode Negative Places. I gave three of them. The third one, excuse me, the third one was Magoo Rock in California, Highway 1, Malibu, in between Malibu and Oxnard and Ventura, right in the middle. That was a negative place, and I was thinking all week that there was two more negative places, but I can't put it under negative places because I already have it under negative places as a thumbnail. So the other two that I just thought of this week were the hospital that I ended up in after that rolling 7 times, and I was pulled out of the car while it was on. The guys that were the angels, and sometimes people can be angels in disguise. You don't even know you're entertaining an angel sometimes. I'll have one on. I'll have an episode on angels, I promise, but not right now. But the two guys that were pulling me out of that window, through the passenger window, saying, "Come on, you got to get out because the car's on fire," and then what happened after that with the police officer saying, was I the driver and all that, and I was telling the truth. No, I wasn't the hitchhiker, and I wasn't the driver. So I guess that's when I think he put the handcuffs on me. So the hospital would be a negative place, and jail. I said I had an episode on jail. That was negative too. So there's a cute little story with jail that it would be under hot beans. Hot, I guess there's cold beans and hot beans. But that little cute story would be hot beans. But I can't go to that story until I guess the thumbnail is going to have to be the hospital. That's what this will be, the hospital. It's going to be a short one. The hospital experience. I guess after I was talking to the police officer and he handcuffed me, I kind of passed out because I couldn't see out of my left eye, and I pretty much woke up. Um, I wasn't in handcuffs, but I did have a bunch of people looking over me, and there was a bright light of people with their faces close to me, sort of like in that episode Amnesia, when I did that double flip up in Camelback Mountain at that party, and I woke up in the hospital with the light in my eye, and the doctor saying, "What dress was she wearing?" And I kept saying, "Blue," and Dad said, "No, it's." And then the doctor said, "It's a red dress." And I kept thinking, did I do something to somebody with a red dress? Mom said, "No, it was. We've been asking you that for a very long time. That you keep answering. Your eyes are open, but you're answering blue." Yeah, it was my second word, but the lights were on. I was talking, but nobody was home until I said. He said, "They're back. He's back." Well, this is a different situation because when I opened my eyes in the hospital, another hospital in California, the doctor said, "Hold still, son. You have a concussion." Where haven't I heard that before? So he's saying, "Don't move. I'm just about done with your with your left eye stitching, but now I've got to work on your eyebrow, and son, it doesn't look too positive. You might not have an eyebrow." And I'm looking at him. I'm looking at him. This is what I'm hearing. I'm opening my eyes, and this is what I'm hearing. And I said, "Doc, don't worry about it. I can see. I can see. I'm no, don't worry about it." And he's looking at me. He said, "No, son, you could. I might. I'm your surgeon, and it doesn't look too positive for me keeping your eyebrow on your left side." I said, I looked at him and I said, "Doc, Don't even worry about it. Do the best you can. And do you know what? He brightened up like there was a weight off of his shoulders because he was really worried. He was concerned. And I gave him that input of don't even worry about it. Don't even have any fear. Just do the best you can. And you know what? That certainly was fantastic. Because I got an eyebrow right here now. Where maybe more of a negative fellow wouldn't have been able to do that. So I'm saying, kids, no matter what it is, always try to be on the positive side than the negative. So after that, I guess I must have went to sleep. And I don't know why I would go to sleep because you're supposed to keep people up if they have a concussion. But I guess I just dozed off. And so when I woke up again, kids, in the hospital, a different part of the hospital, I had the same police officer right next to me that was questioning me about who was driving the car. Was I the hitchhiker? He kept saying it was like he's giving me another a reprieve, you might say, because all I would have because he kept saying this guy's name. It was that guy, and I can't say it because, well, it's a last name. I don't want anybody to ever look up that name. So I said, no, it's not that name. That was me. He says, it was you. Oh, okay, it wasn't. And I said, no. And by the way, I had the paper the next day. Son of a gun. If that guy's name that he was yelling at me wasn't in the paper. Go figure. So this guy was getting blamed for something that he never did. I guess it happens that way. That happens with people in jail too. They're in there and they're innocent. They're innocent. People are in jail. They're guilty. Some of them. A lot of them are innocent. That's all I'm saying. That's what I came across. A lot of guys that were saying they were innocent. They asked me. I said, no, I took that car. You took that car? It was an emergency. Remember, kids, whenever you take something and you destroy it, there's going to be a recompense for it. That's all Uncle Martin's saying. So when I woke up and the police officer was still interrogating me on this guy's name that I said, no, it's not. About that time, the nurse comes in and says, how was I doing and all that. I said, I'm fine. I'm just fine. She says, well, I got some food for you here. I said, no. I'm fasting. You're fasting? She looks up, you're fasting? I said, yeah, I'm still fat. I'm still You're still fasting? How long have you been fasting? I said, well, I've been, well, I guess this time, because, kids, back in the episodes, if you ever got back there, the cave and that other one with the Chila had to work with the medicine man and the medicine man, the shaman sends me up there. Well, it was for a 7-day fast with his girlfriend on whatever episode. That was the 7-day fast one because he could trust me. And I was doing fast. I've been doing fast to this day all my life. And by the way, I will have the proper way of fasting for anybody that's interested. It'll be under the episode proper fasting when it comes time. Just put it on the back shelf. We're working with this lady this nurse, probably in her mid-30s, saying to me, you've been fasting for how long? Boy, if I only knew the proper answer. By the way, I'm putting it out there for anybody that's in this situation to probably hold back on the time frame. All I said was, well, let's see, it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's some Sunday, so, and I didn't even I just said, it's a 3-day fast. I said 3, I think it was more on the 4-ish, going into 4, but I lost count somewhere. I just said a 3-day fast, and her eyes opened up, and she says, she started screaming something, I IV. I think she was saying IV. And I'm thinking, what did I say wrong? I said, well, all I'd said I was on a three-day fast. And she says, you're starving. I said, no, I'm not even hungry. I'm fine. She says, we got to get an IV in you. I said, no, I don't need it. I don't even know what an IV is. I forget about it. I'm okay. She says, no, you're dying. And I said, no, I'm not dying. I feel fine. She says, no, an IV. And then she's screaming the IV again. So they bring over this big thing, like a half a lampshade thing that hangs over. And there was some kind of clear substance in a plastic baggie. If anybody's had an IV, I'm sure somebody's out there seen a picture of it in a movie where they come over with the long thing. It comes out of the plastic thing, and then they, I guess at the end of the plastic thing, there's a needle, And then she's saying how she has to stick me with a needle to get the IV going. And I said, well, I'm not really fond of needles, let alone what is in the IV. And she says, oh, it's nothing. Don't even worry about it. It's sugar water. I said, sugar? I don't eat sugar. And by the way, I'm going to have an episode on sugar, on all the things it does do to you. Of course, since that time, and probably 3-4, I haven't really had sugar, probably 3, going on 4 years now, because of what happened the last time that I did have some sugar. You really don't know, kids, until I know you all have bags of candy and you're really happy with that candy and you're all having candy and happy days. I'm just saying, if you're going to have that candy, do brush your teeth, all right? Just take it from Uncle Martin. Anytime you eat food, have candy, brush your teeth. So I'm saying, sugar water, no, please, I don't eat sugar. Oh, but it's just sugar water. I said, I know. I don't want any sugar water. But you're dying. She kept saying I was dying. I'm saying, no, I'm strong. I'm physically strong. In fact, I'm fast too. If I wasn't handcuffed to this bed, I would be out of here. I couldn't say that. The police officer was still there and watching, making sure I was going to get this IV. So when I say hospitals can be negative, I guess they can be positive. But for Uncle Martin, it was a very negative experience for me because she said, well, let me see your arm. Well, I'm handcuffed to the bed. Obviously, you can see my arm. And so she's saying, oh, there's not going to be a problem here at all. You have fantastic veins. I've done this. Don't even worry about it. I've done this 1,000 times. And it's going to be so quick. I said, really? Well, I don't know. I don't feel positive about this. And she says, no, just take a second. You have fantastic veins. And by the way, I don't have a tourniquet around me, but I don't know if you guys can see this. I do have some veins. I don't have a tourniquet, but you can see I got some kind of veins in here, right? Veins. My point being, she had a tourniquet around me, so I had even more visible veins, all right? And she gets this needle, and she starts going from my vein, and I'm saying in my mind, I don't want this. And it must have been I was transferring this thought to my veins, because every time she got close to getting, she stuck me. She stuck me with that needle 7 times. I know. And I'll tell you why in a second, but she got me 7 times. And finally after the 7, well, during that time period, she says, boy, you've got good veins. They keep rolling. Your veins are rolling. I can't, they're rolling. I said, yeah, they're rolling because they don't want to be stuck with that needle. She says, no, it's very unusual for you to have such big veins and they roll like that. I said, I don't know. I think they have a mind of their own, just like mine. I don't want this to be done. She says, you have to. You're starving. You're dying. You're starving and dying. I said, I'm not hungry and I'm not dying. Believe me. But she had her mission because I asked her about it. And she says, it's in the book. The book says, you must have this IV. And as we all know, kids, the book may be wrong. As you know, in my fourth grade, when I was teacher said, "You want an A?" Yeah, I want an A. Follow what's in the book. The Viking, Viking versus Christopher Columbus. Vikings were here first, and if you kids are in a school that says Christopher Columbus was here first before the Vikings, tell your parents about it because maybe they should move you out of that school. I'm just saying, maybe. Because in 1964 we knew about it, that the Vikings were here first. And so if you're in a school that's that backward, this might be something to think about. So as she's screaming that I can't find his, I can't, they keep rolling. And then there was another nurse she says, well, we're going to have to do something about that because he's going to get an IV one way or the other. So she says, we're going to call in the head nurse. I didn't feel that was very positive. And so she came in and they kept saying something with, there's not enough light. I'm thinking, if you've ever been in a hospital, there's plenty of light in a hospital. I don't know if that was just an excuse. So while they're screaming, there's not enough light, and we need the head nurse. And then all of a sudden, here she is coming around the corner with, well, she was a short little gal, about the size of Marcia, but she had a little more girth to her. And she was walking my way, and she looked like she meant business. Not only did she mean business, but kids, you have parents, guardians that ever worked on a car. You must have saw a movie about it. They have this kind of like, it's kind of it has like a cage to it, has a big bulb in it, usually hangs from the top of the car hood when it's open so you can see the engine really well. Well, that's what she was coming in with, was this just kind of light. I'm thinking, my goodness. And then so she hooks up she says, it won't reach. We need an extension cord. So they go and get an extension cord, and she hooks up to the extension cord, and she's now with this, she says, well, they can't do this left arm anymore because there's some kind of law that if you stick yourself too many times on this side, they've got to go to the other arm. So son of a gun, if they didn't go to the other arm, and I have the same amount of veins on this side as I do that side. So now the light is over me. We can see the veins very well because I got a tourniquet on. She said, oh, you got some really good veins here. I said, yeah, I do, but she says, I'll get it. Come, she says, I've done this 1,000 times, just like the other gal said. But she's the head nurse, so I'm thinking, I'm feeling a little more confident. Well, she's going to be able to do the job. Well, son of a gun, kids, I can count. And that was on the 11th time she got the vein. So I got my sugar water. And by the way, the reason they don't stick you as many times as that, because the next day, and that's what she said, she says, you might be a little black and blue tomorrow. I said, why is that? Because when you miss the vein, and that's what happens, it looks like somebody beat you up. And son of a gun, I looked at both my arms the next morning, and it looked like somebody was jumping up and down on my arms. That's all I can say. They're big old blotches like this all over both my arms. Maybe they can find veins a little better. This is back in the, I'll just say, I'm not going to give any time because I don't want anybody putting this stuff together when it comes to when I went to jail. I don't want anybody really finding out anything. Thank God they got the other guy's name in there because they said, yeah, it was a fire vehicle and it was that guy's name, and it wasn't the guy, it was me. Which, all I want to say about this story is positive and negative things happen in the hospital, kids. And it was very negative for Uncle Martin that particular time. And I guess the moral of the story being on this one, because each one has a moral, kids. And this is a short one, by the way, because I got to go somewhere. It's very important that I get this business taken care of. I'd love to talk a little bit more about the hot beans in the little jail episode that I have for you involved. It's pretty cute and it's very true. Um, that's definitely a big moral. And I'm saying every story I've ever told you, I don't know how this one really turned out positive, other than I guess it would be no matter what it is, to tell the truth. And that would be the moral to this one. Because I had a way out of this police officer that was next to me. I was handcuffed to that bed. He was not done with me. In fact, that's what the reprieve was. He was re-going over what he had said, because he said, you weren't in your right, because I woke up to this guy now, and he's saying, you weren't in your right mind. It was this guy that was all involved in this, wasn't it? You were the hitchhiker, weren't you? And I said, no, I wasn't the hitchhiker. I was the driver. It wasn't that guy. And he said the guy's name again. He wanted this guy really bad. And I could have very simply said, yeah, that was that guy. Yeah, I wasn't involved. Then I would have had the handcuffs taken off, and I would have been able to go home, which didn't happen. Well, actually, it did, because I had a court date, and they said, "How do you plead?" And I didn't plead anything. Was able to get a lawyer and all that. They paid for a lawyer. It was expensive. So I got to go home and do all that stuff, blah, 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 that I said in the last episode. Parents were not going to put their house up for a second mortgage. And even Aunt Nancy and Uncle Jim came in and said they would pay for this whole thing. And I kept saying, I don't want to be ungrateful here, guys, but I want to stand up for what I did. I'm going to throw myself on the mercy of the court. Which we kind of know how that ended up, because I'm telling you that I did go to a farm up in Ojai. It was still jail. We were in jail, but it was kind of like that kind of place where I'll have that episode on hot beans. So I guess what I'm going to do, kids, is I haven't done it in a while. I did tell you in the past episode that, excuse me, if I ever missed an episode, if I ever missed a Sunday, which I did, it was a couple months ago, but you don't know about it. But I want to be honest with you, because I did say if I ever missed an episode, I'd have one back to back. So this will be the time. This Sunday will be back to back, but not right now. I have some very important things to do. As soon as I take care of them, I will be back, and I will finish with that cute little story of hot beans will be the episode. This episode is the hospital. The next episode is going to be hot beans. What happened then in jail. So it'll be just a little while, and I'll be back. And then I'll talk to you then. Until then, be well. Aloha. Till we see you very shortly.